Hi, this is David Pitts of FalconChristmas.com here to give you a sneak peek of the F16V2-R. The F16V2-R is a 64 universe controller that has the ability to receive unicast and multicast on this Ethernet port. The Ethernet port then transmits the data to the processor and the FPGA, which drive the onboard 16 ports. The 16 ports could be either 3-wire or 4-wire, and each port has a pluggable resistor pack that allows you to remove that and exchange that if you want to go further distances. But the resistor pack that comes in there is kind of geared towards longer distances already. The power of the board comes in on two power connectors, V1 and V2. V1 controls these 8 connectors, or the left side, and V2 controls the right side connectors. The power for the electronics can come in either from V2 or can also come in through this external power connector. Either V2 or the external power connector could be in the range of 5 to 35 volts. There is a fuse circuit to protect and also reverse polarity protection. The unit has 4 serial ports. Each serial port could be individually configured for PixelNet, DMX, or Renard. And 3 of the serial ports, port 2, 3, and 4, have the ability to use the jumpers to configure the pinouts to either lower or the standard DMX pins. The unit has an OLED display, and the OLED display is 128 by 64 dots, and on that display you can set up the network parameters, you can change the test patterns, and you can also view real-time E131 statistics or stats, and also the waveform of the data right on the display. Every channel that the board receives, all 64 universes, can be inspected right from the display using the push buttons. The board also has the ability to add an expansion onto it. And when you add the expansion board, which is a simple ribbon cable, that expands the controller to a 32 port controller. I'm having a hard time getting the cable in there. There we go. And now it's a 32 port controller. When it was in 16 string mode, you can drive 680 pixels per port. And when you connect the expansion board and put it into 32 string mode, you can drive 340 pixels per port. And that is the way that we originally programmed it. But now, due to the fact that some might have less pixels or more pixels on one board or the other, I've created a slider that's in the user interface that allows you to allocate how many pixels go to the main board and how many pixels go to the expansion board. So there is 680 pixels that could be output to both boards per port. And if you, with the slider, you can say, okay, I want the main board's ports to output 100 pixels per port, and I want the expansion board to output 580 pixels per port, or vice versa. You could set that ratio in increments of 10 pixels. So this one could be 10 pixels and this could be 670, or this could be this one could be 670 and this one could be 10, or any division between there. So you have the ability to say, how many pixels of the 680 go to the main board and how many go to the expansion board. So the expansion board increases it to 32 ports. Now each port has the ability to have virtual strings, and virtual strings is where you would take a particular port and you would virtually split it up into several segments, each segment having its own parameters like pixel, RGB order, grouping, zigzag, group count, and all those settings that are available on each port are also available for each virtual string. So you could split one port into like 5 virtual strings and have a different color order for each segment. And that is very handy whenever you are connecting strings that have the same pixel type, but the color order is different. The other thing that we've done is we've added a micro SD card. And the micro SD card ability will, in the future, we're going to be coding up some features that allow you to create sequences, standalone sequences without audio that could play directly from the card, or also make this make the board a standalone, or not a standalone, but a remote of the Falcon player system. So it could be have its own data right on the board in the SD card, and allow you to just send a sync packet to the board, and it will then grab the data from its own card and play it and keep perfectly in sync with the player, and not send any E131 data over the network. The other thing we've done is we've increased the size of the flash drive, so you'll be able to update this firmware now over the internet. So those are some of the things that we added just recently, and that's what kind of set back production a couple weeks while we figured those things out. And now everything's been tested and the boards are being made, so they should be shipping soon. I hope you enjoyed the video.